Alrighty, this is the next video of like the basic stuff. And the first one I did, I laid this deck and show you how to make a deck nice and square, flat, make the elevation the same, all that good stuff. And I did just about as good as you can do with these concrete floor panels here. And it's a little more work to do things the right way, but some people want to do stuff that way. That's the way I am most of the time, even in stupid shit like this game. So, the other issue that people run into is with walls. Dealing with walls makes dealing with the floor panels look like just basically picking which save you're going to load. It's way more difficult. There's a lot more dicking around you have to do. It's way more frustrating. Walls you build up, you build out, and you're going to run into problems with all of those things. So the first thing I want to show you is like, how do you get walls to all line up? So say you've got something like this, a deck, and you're building a room and you want the walls to go all the way around it. So we'll cordon off, we'll do like, this is 2 panels, we'll do 2 panels by like 6 panels. And just for an experiment, we'll see what it looks like if we just do it, just the regular old way. So let me go pick my panel. There it is. And we're just going to go around, we're going to make a room real quick. And if you watch my other video, you know that those multiple clicks per position really means problems. What is that? 1, 2, we'll go a couple more here. If you're paying close attention, you can already see there's huge issues. Alright, so one of the great ways you can inspect if your wall is positioned properly is with these little, I don't know what the fuck they are, little junction things, little, like, buckles or something like that. As you can see, those two, they're pretty good. You get closer, you can see one's just a little bit lower than the other. This fucking game, if you can get that right there, congratulations. If you can get that consistently, holy shit. Because this game will not just snap things into each other. As I mentioned in the previous video, you really should watch all of them. There's just no way. You can literally just have a wall and another wall, and you hook the two together, and they don't line up, and there's no explanation for it. Now, since we're doing something a little more complicated, we have floor pieces. You're running into the same problem that I mentioned in the other video. The more things there are for an object to hook to, the more problems you're going to have when you try to extend that object. These basic things like floor pieces or whatever you use for ceilings, which are probably floor pieces, and walls, and the short walls that I like to use for railings and stuff like that. The more length that you utilize, the larger amplification you get of the tiny little errors, till they become very large errors. If I were to take this wall and wrap it all the way around without using the floor panels, because the floor panels are level, so already this is not a normal situation, because the floor panels, at least you have something to hook it to, that where if you can get it to hook to that, they're already going to be level, so the walls will be at approximately the right height. So as we go around, we see that a lot of them have gotten very close to perfect, which is great, and you can thank the floor panels for that. But here and there, you're going to run into ones like that. That's not even as bad as it can get. It can get so much worse. And what's happening there is it can't decide if it wants to hook to the floor panel or this other wall. And again, with every connection, there's often more than one elevation it can hook at with just each individual connection. So there could be 4 or 8 different positions that each wall could go into, all of them noticeably different. And as they add up over time, they become extremely noticeably different, almost to the point to where it breaks the function. Like you'll try to make a wall that's 50 walls long, and then you'll make a floor panel that's 50 floor panels long, and by the time you get to it, at the end, there's a big old gap there, or they're going towards or away from each other, or literally one will stop the other from being built because they occupy the same space. And then you're like, wow, I just spent 30 minutes laying all this shit, and now my stuff's fucked up, and it looks like shit. I'm just not going to do this anymore. You got to get out ahead of the problem before it happens. So this standard building of just running around slapping stuff down, look at that. It looks like shit. What you get is a really inconsistent result. So you've got to try. Well, we can't see shit over there. Oh, but you can see that. Jesus Christ. And all of those little changes in elevation there are also visible at the top. And at some point, your wall's going to be coming through your floor or coming through your ceiling, or there's going to be a gap there, and it's not going to look the way you want it to look. It's going to look like some fucking shotgun shack on Skid Row that someone threw together with cardboard and corrugated tin. That's not a base. And all the way around, it just looks like ass. And this is not a big construction. I know a lot of people, they just build little bases, try to make them look like cozy little shacks. Other people want to build stuff that's a little more monolithic, you know. Well, that's not even the right word because that implies it's one piece of stone. So let's get all this crap out of here. They just want to build some big shit. They want something impressive, something magnificent. And you're not going to get that with this game. You can build something really big and you can build something eye-catching, but the closer you get to it, the more it looks like fucking, like, store brand Legos, like the Great Value Legos or something, if there is such a thing. That's what you'd be building the bases with in this game, because none of this shit is dimensionally, like, accurate in any way from piece to piece. So one technique you can use, first of all, if you can get a level floor, even if it means you got to go delete it later, build something flat like I showed you in the other video and use that as the basis, and then delete it later. I do that so much when I build a large base. Sometimes there's scaffoldings that I use. That's what I call this stuff when you delete it later. I call it a scaffolding. You will build a scaffolding to build a scaffolding to build a wall, you know, and then you'll have to go back and delete stuff because you're trying to position it correctly at the right height and the right direction. You know, and you just need something reliable to snap it to, because snapping one to the next one is just a fucking waste of time. You get that garbage we just saw. So one technique I like to use is, I'll go ahead, say we're going to build a wall that's 3 walls tall. First of all, where you put the cursor, as I mentioned in the other video, and I don't want to have to keep repeating stuff, so just watch, you know, this handful of videos I'm going to make. Where you put the cursor will make a difference. On this, there's really only one position for it. With that, I mean, there's 2 positions. I don't hear any clicking, so I'm assuming they're the same. So we're 3 tall. Now, did that even turn out? Yeah. Okay. So that's all flush. That's all good. That's definitely passable. But it's just 1 wall long. That's not good enough. So you could sit here and then be like, well, now I'm going to build these walls here. And, you know, don't get me wrong. Sometimes this will work. But a lot of the time, it just doesn't. That really isn't that bad. But there's like a gap in there and stuff like that. They're not really completely flush. And the taller you go, the worse it's going to get. So what I like to do is, like I did earlier, is I'll skip one. Like this. So that way it minimizes the number of things it's trying to connect to. It's just got one choice, and hopefully that choice only means like 2 positions that are possible. I mean, preferably be 1, and maybe it is all the time, but it definitely isn't sometimes. And if it isn't sometimes, that's enough of a justification for just trying to find a way to avoid it completely, so you don't run into those little errors here and there. And then you build the ones in the middle. And you can see. You can even see before that positions that it just doesn't line up right. You have to figure out, well, where do I need to put the cursor to make this shit work? Because this isn't doing it. Is the cursor down here what I need? Is the cursor floating in space what I need? I need to come from over here? Look at that. Okay, there's a great example. You can see that that is not nearly as high as the other ones. Why does it do that? Fuck if I know. We do it from this side, it's also off. Do it from this side, it's also off. But not as bad. So this side, we'll try with the cursor floating in space like that from the side. And you get something that's like, it's off. In fact, you can tell, since this one's higher than this one is higher than this one, that these two aren't even right. So again, I sit down in an attempt to make a video that just show us a simple principle. And I'm finding more problems than I was previously even aware existed. But if you want to build a wall at length, go every other one. Use the cursor in a consistent position, which is harder with these walls. There's 2 different positions right here. This is why we do that. See it? Look. Down, up. Down, up. Make the screen bigger. Make sure it's in 1080p. Down, up. That's what's fucking you every time you try to do a big structure. This makes no fucking sense because we were not determining what to connect it to by where we even put the cursor. So even that inoculation against variation here is not enough to change things. So look, and I clicked again. And it's harder with the walls because it's so hard to get this stuff to go the direction you want it to go to begin with. So that one looks okay. I shouldn't even put that there to begin with. But there's go in every other one. And then like when you go every other one, you come back and look at this shit. Almost this isn't even going to be an instructional video at this point. This is just like a, holy shit, look at this shit. You've got to listen for that click. You've got to look for the positioning. There's 3 different positions for this already. There's this position. Watch. I can't point and have you see where I'm pointing. But watch that little lower left-hand corner, that orange buckle. Watch it move. It moved there. It moved there. How do you deal with that? You have to just watch it. And as you can see, that one's all right. But now this one isn't. Why? Because this one's probably hooked to this instead of hooked to that. And again, there's 2 positions right there. You have to watch. You have to watch that clicking. And just hope you get the right one there. So that one's good. So with walls, the lesson is to just literally go as slow as hell and take the time. This one's like this one's just like, yeah, I'm not going to do it at all. Oh, there we go. So you got to move slow with the walls. One technique again is to put, look at this. There's also that position can be different. The position relative to this one is closer to this side than it is to that side. Whereas this one's closer to that side than it is to this side. So you get a lip there too. It's just a constant struggle. I mean, again though, you can make it passable. You just have to take the time and use different techniques. Another thing you could do is this one and this one. Say you're having trouble getting that in there. Boom. You remove that. Now you've got even less things for it to connect to. It also makes it infinitely harder to connect to begin with. And there's 2 positions there. There's the higher one. There's the lower one. And neither one is even approaching what we're looking for here. Go at it this way. I mean, honestly, I don't have the answers for this, to be honest. I really thought I did a minute ago. But I don't use a lot of walls, to be honest, right? I'll use, because I don't make enclosures for the most part. I do floors and roofs, and I'll put a roof over it. Now that roofs will keep stuff out of the elements, I'll build glass roofs over the walkways to my biodomes and stuff like that. But my preference now are these little, hang on, let me get this deleted. Super exciting watching me delete stuff. My preference now is these bad boys right here. They look construction-y. Look at how construction-y that looks. And I don't know if these are any more accurate. They sure as hell seem like it, though. Well, I've spoken too soon, because you can see by looking at those. Look at that. What happened there? Like, I'm just moving the cursor a little bit. And you can see that's where, when you run into all these huge, like, why the fuck is this big lip in my walkway and stuff like that? The only way around it is to just move like a fucking turtle and pay close attention to every piece that you place. There's no fast way to do it. You can kind of move a little bit faster with the walkways, but with walls and shit like that, it's just not happening. It's just not. Even that ain't perfect, because you can see those aren't in the exact same spot, and thusly these are not in the exact same spot. And that's where the frustration comes from. Another thing that I learned the hard way, this will be a great example, I'm sure, is we'll just put that there. And I remember when I was making LG4, the Green Inferno orbital, I was like, oh my God, this railing's going to be sweet. And I just started at one end and kept working my way down and kept working my way down. You know how this story ends. And then like at the beginning of the railway, the rail is like at nipple level. And then by the time I get to the end of the fucking railway, it's like at knee level. And it's like, and you can measure it. It's easy to measure. You can already see. You can like literally see this thing getting closer and closer to this deck. You can see how it's getting lower. And sometimes it'll level out a little bit. But I mean, in the end, when you go long, you're going to have problems. And you just got to take your time. And the way I dealt with this is when you're making a railing, instead of just running the railing around like that, don't do that. Every other one, connect to this. That's how you do it. You connect every other one to the deck if you're making a railing around something. Like that. And then you come back after you've connected them to the deck. Let's get this piece of garbage out of here real quick. After you connect them to the deck, you desperately try to... Again, the game fights you. It'll offer you every possible position other than the one you want. And it'll just laugh in your face the whole time. There. You put one up there. And 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 then you go ahead and connect them. And these right here, these railings are actually way better than the walls for accuracy and stuff like that. They made up a lot better than the walls do. And that might just be perception because they're smaller, so you don't notice it. But then you just kind of go, and then you delete these. And then you get a more consistent railing. The whole goal being that as you're going along, 5, 10, 15, 20 pieces, be it a wall or a railing or whatever, as you're going along, each one of those is going to have a minute difference. And if they're all going in the same direction, which seems to be what's usually happened, you gradually get higher and higher, lower and lower. If you go back and you connect it to the deck, which is, maybe the deck isn't necessarily level, but the deck is the new level. That's what everything else has to be level to, because that's what you see visually, is whether or not it's level to the deck. So you got that deck there. To make it level to the deck, you attach stuff to the deck every 2 or 3 or every other one like I just did. And then they still don't line up the way they're supposed to. And there's still nothing you can do about it. But instead of having that error amplified by 15, 20, 50, however far you're going, because you're periodically attaching to the deck and connecting to that, instead now your error is only across 1 or 2 parts, like we just did there. The error is only across 1 or 2 parts. Where you look at this old railing right here, and we'll just look. Okay, so as you can see, there's a little bit of the railing on the screen here. And as we go down, oh, where'd the railing go? Oh, it's not even on the screen anymore. Well, it's a little bit on the bottom there. And lower, and lower, and lower, and then back up, and then lower. Now it's coming back up higher, and then lower. All right. So you can see it's not the same height. You can watch it travel up and down. And like I said, you get enough ups or downs in a row. And eventually when you get to the end, you won't be able to place pieces because they'll be running into each other. Or worse, if you were to build full-length walls like those, all the way down to that, and then you try to lay a deck up there at the end of the deck. And when I make my other bases public, it looks like I will be soon because they're actually showing up. They have some of these problems because they're older. They're before I knew what I was doing. I just get to the problem and be like, fuck it. I just want to make money off these plants. And I just let it go. So like the 5.1, LG 5.1 Yarbles, that is a clone of the 5.0 or just the LG 5 Yarbles, which is on the Clockwork Orange system on the Alex planet. And next to a portal, and I had to move it. That's why it got cloned. But like on one end of that, you'll see the concrete paver deck, like I was making in the previous video to show you how the concrete pavers work. And there will be walls coming up through it on the corner because the deck's going like this or the wall's going like this. And then when they get to the end, they're not level with each other anymore. And it looks like shit when you get to that corner. I hate it. But whatever. I still like the base because I thought it was a cool idea to make something all orange on a Clockwork Orange planet that was covered with orange grass. You know, so it's not a total loss or anything. But as you can see, this just looks like butt. It's terrible. And as you do it, if you just throw stuff down, you're going to have problems. But if you take the time to reattach it to the deck every couple pieces, it's going to be a lot more square looking. It'll be more aesthetically pleasing. Because that will go down to the end and it won't vary that much. Whereas that first abortion we did varies quite a bit. So, okay, so that's not really the most useful video ever. It's like you come to the one that says how to make floors level and flat, and you get information that actually helps you do that. This video, it's more like, you're just fucked, man. With walls and railings and shit, you're just fucked. There's nothing you can do about it. There's just things you can do, like building every other one to make it attached to the deck and stuff like that. That'll reduce the variation quite a bit. So you don't get like these base-breaking problems where you can't build a floor or a wall or a dome because of shit clipping through other shit that you don't want to, that should have been level. But again, base building is just an afterthought in this game. So that's the best I can offer you on that one. Let me put this back in here because it's driving me crazy. All right. So what I'll do next is I'll show you, well, you'll just have to see if you watch the other video. It'll be about how I do dome placement and stuff like that. So that's it for this video. I know, it was a waste of time. I'll upload it anyways, just because. I'm going to upload the video, buddy. Totally mystified as to why I sit here for like 6 fucking hours at a stretch, just staring at a rectangle. He doesn't get it. All right.